Three, two, one. We are now live. Hey everybody, welcome. Hey Alex, how you
What's
doing
up,
today?
Shanlin? How are you doing, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Excited to be in the hosting seat for another wonderful demo community call. Just so you guys know, today we're going over the release one of the demo app. Basically, the release one is like our big releases that we're going to be doing to really like update and show off the new features inside of the demo app. This one we have like a huge update, definitely different from what when our app to versus how it is now. So joining me today, we're going to have Alex, the co-founder of Demo here. Well, one of the co-founders of Demo, and we're going to talk about the vision behind these changes, why these features are important, and we're going to kind of go through and we're going to experience all together these features firsthand. So I
Yeah,
guess
Shanlin,
we'll go ahead.
I'm really excited to dive into it. There's going to be a few pieces of terminology that we throw out today, things like season one and release one. And one of the things that you guys, the community, can expect on the next call is that we're going to go into a little bit more detail on exactly how we're laying out the roadmap and the future of Demo. I think there's certainly been a huge amount of interest in getting a better perspective of what that looks like. And while we've been very heads down on continuing to ship some of the great updates in the app today, we do also want to help the community understand what to expect from Demo and what the timelines will look like. So if you have any questions about that, we can obviously talk about them today, but we'll address them in future calls. So what we're talking about is really Demo season one, release one. And this was a huge update that we made to the app. Most people who are following things closely probably noticed some major interface changes, maybe some new features. And I'm actually going to walk through a bunch of those today.
Yeah, I'm excited to see everything that we have in the app. I know it's just like it looks so different. Like already seeing on your screen there to where your car, it's up there. We got like a nice, beautiful like green screen there. I think that's for an EV, and also for ICE vehicles as well too. So it shows both fuel level and battery level, and I think it's it starts to deplete. I believe it also updates the color, so you could see like when you're hitting medium fuel levels or battery or very low, and we should be charging.
Yeah, and this goes to the first major update of this release, which is the vehicle tab. So obviously there's a totally new redesigned screen. We can see on the top left, there's actually a button that allows us to see all of our cars. We can mark a favorite. Right now, there actually isn't a favorited car. This way, the app will know which car we want to start off on when we open the app for the first time. If we click into any one of these, one of the coolest things, of course, about Demo all around is if you have more than one car at home, which over 50% of American households do, you can add a car from almost on any OEM to Demo today. So we have a Ford Mach-E, a Tesla, a Cadillac, RAV4, a Honda, and a Ford F-150 all in the same app.
On that one, it's the F-150 cent.
Yeah, we'll get to F-150 cent in a minute. A couple of things to point out. Not only did you point out the color coding, Shaolin, and we can see some cars that are maybe at different states. Here's a car that needs to be charged a little bit. But we've also made a major update to sort of the information here, which is that range and capacity and other metrics here are now in widgets. And one of the things that we're trending towards, or one of the features we're trending towards, is where people have more control over what they see about their car. There's a lot more data that we have on any one of these vehicles, and what you care about as an individual might be different depending on which car you're looking at, or what you care about. You might care more about your capacity. And as we add more data and layer in more functionality, you're going to have the ability to actually customize this home screen and really give each vehicle a rich experience.
Oh man, I love that. Shout out to all of get on this one too. They have poured so much sweat, blood, and tears into this to make.
We also rolled out vehicle commands. You don't really see it on the right side on the slide of my screen here, but vehicle commands are a really important new feature. Before we dive into that, Shanlin, I don't know if any questions have come in from the community or if there's anything to hit in the early stages, but certainly want to make things interactive.
Sure. Of course, everyone's just saying hi, and this is so cool, and they're just saying excited to be here. So to everyone out
Sweet.
there, I'm so glad you're here too.
Well, we can get the questions coming in, and let's dive into vehicle commands. I think it's a really awesome feature. Vehicle commands today work on some cars in DIMO, not all. If you're connected through Smart Car is one of the methods that we allow people to connect their vehicle. Basically, it means if you already have one of those connected vehicle apps, Ford Pass or something else, you've probably connected to DIMO through Smart Car. Not all cars have vehicle commands enabled through Smart Car. Many do, but if you have logged back into DIMO and you see this enable commands button, you can click that button. It'll probably ask you for Face ID. And depending on what sort of vehicle you have and its compatibility, you may now have the ability to lock or unlock your car. It's pretty simple. You can actually just hold down. You have to hold down the button. We want to prevent, fat fingering, locking or unlocking your car. And I'm not going to demo the unlocking in our test fleet, but if you hold down either one of these buttons, you lock or unlock. And then if you are working with a Tesla, we also have frunk and trunk control as well.
So basically, what you're saying is if I accidentally walk into the grocery store and I forget to lock my vehicle, if I happen to have a smart card or hardware, potentially hardware in the future, enabled device, I could just hold down that button and I'll be able to lock my vehicles and not have to worry about it.
That's right. We are building that functionality into it, and hardware control will come a little bit later when you can unlock via the AutoPie device. And not only is this really meant for you, but having the vehicle controls capability is one of the foundational elements to building more complex and more interesting apps on top of DIMO. One of the apps that people talk about a lot is sort of the family sharing plan. Can you give permissions to go lock and unlock, or use the car to other people in your family? And then if you extend that out, you could also imagine doing that on a peer-to-peer basis. And really, we see this as like one step in the road to achieving a true peer-to-peer car sharing experience without the intermediary of a Getaround or a Turo, where right now you can lock and unlock this car. We have a smart contract to actually give that car a on-chain identity, and over time we can take these pieces and build them into more complex applications that allow for, let's say, a car sharing program, sharing your vehicle with another person over the weekend, all dependent on a smart contract. We're really excited about building into that future. Obviously, if you're an application developer who thinks that's a cool idea, we want to talk to you. But this is, a key stepping stone into enabling a world with much more rich vehicle sharing options.
Now, we do have one question coming off of what you were talking about is
Awesome.
to basically replace a basic code scanner app like Bimmer code.
We are the AutoPie can do that. We are, the AutoPie can do many things and actually gather. It can look at error codes. We have been focused more on sort of the user facing pieces of data. So certainly error codes are not far behind on that list, over things like enabling the AutoPie to actually lock or unlock cars. So we definitely will be building some of those features. I think our eventual goal would be to see specialty applications that can take the AutoPie data that it's collected and helps you to better understand that. So many of the things that we're going to do within the DIMO app itself are going to sort of be like the layer one version of control for the vehicle, or getting data from the vehicle. And then you'll have a rich kind of selection of applications that you can pick from to actually take your data and get a better analysis, deeper analysis, more specific to your vehicle type or something like that.
Centralized Rob, that answers your question. I know you briefly touched upon what we might be able to get into a little bit later, the open vehicle ID.
Yeah,
Would be super awesome. So let's go on to the next topic of glove box, and then I want to save
awesome.
the best for last, still being the open vehicle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Glove box is a really interesting feature. We're going to demo it with this fake extra car that I've added just to not have to reveal any true license and registration information about our test fleet. But if you look at the top right corner of the app screen, there's the three dots. this is one of the areas where you can actually go and see a bunch more of the functionality that's been built into the app. There's glove box. We can see which particular connections exist. This car is not connected. And if we look in the glove box, we've created this for a few reasons. The obvious, to existing users today is we can give you a place to store digital copies of the most important documents in your vehicle's life cycle: title, registration, insurance. You can store service records. I'm one of those people that I'm happy to have a bunch of these pieces of information stored in one single place, all my car data in one location. It's pretty simple to get started. Any single one of these particular applications or document types is easy to click into, add an additional document, and here I have a little DIMO sticker standing in for the title, and there it goes, getting uploaded into my DIMO app. Useful on its own, but we also see a much bigger picture for why the glove box is going to be useful in the future. Among the many reasons, obviously, if you're doing some forms of car sharing, but more interestingly, vehicle commerce. We hope to enable a world where people can actually transact vehicles, maybe peer-to-peer, maybe bringing their car to a used car marketplace. And rather than having to go through the many steps of getting onboarded to a marketplace where you can sell your car, you'll have all of the data, all of the relevant metadata, insurance and title and those sorts of things. But also you'll have all of this vehicle data that can prove you've kept your car in good health and ideally get you a much better price for your car. This is, I know it's something that we've talked about many times on community calls and blog posts. One of the things we're hyper focused on is not just collecting this data for a user's sake or collecting this data to monetize it to somebody who just wants to buy data, but actually putting that data to work on behalf of users to get access to better apps and services. And we think one of the largest categories that's going to unlock is when people are buying new insurance, buying or selling new cars or used cars, and using that data to actually get over the hump of the information asymmetry that exists in one of the largest industries in the world, which is the used car market.
I am totally down for this. Let me tell you, there was a little while ago, I was trying to buy a new used car. I love it, for my wife, and we were basically going through it. We were going to all these different dealerships and everything, and everywhere we would go, they'd either lock behind the information and the service records behind Carfax, and maybe they'd be like, "Oh, about this later on when we're doing the negotiation for the sales." So while we're out there, we're looking at the vehicle, right? You don't know what's going on with it. You're just kind of seeing the exterior. You don't know exactly how it was treated, and you don't know like what the service records are. So like maintenance is a mystery. And when you're buying a used car, maintenance records are so important just because that way you know how that car was treated. Because, one car can be driven so hard, but then kept in the nicest condition on the interior. And you're thinking, oh, visually, this is a great car. But when you get in there, you drive it off the lot, thing just breaks down. And you're just like, oh, sorry. I think this here is going to unlock the future of car buying through, from what you just said, through all the metadata that you could associate with. I love it.
Sweet. Any more questions coming in, Shailin? I'm blind to the questions, so you're on deck to lob them over to me if they're coming in.
Oh, I have multiple screens up right now. So
Okay.
if anyone's ever wondering why I'm looking around so much, I got YouTube, I got Twitter, I got Riverside, I got Discord up. I'm monitoring everything. So far, we are good right now. People really loving what we have going on.
Cool.
They're just information we're providing.
Nice. So we're ready to move on to the open vehicle ID, one of the coolest things that I think DIMO's accomplished. And well, I say accomplished, but we've accomplished getting to the starting line. And from really there, the journey begins. Let me just take a step back before we even show it off in product and kind of put into context one of the things that we're trying to achieve here. There's about 30 large automakers around the world. Many of those automakers have built multiple connected vehicle platforms. If you look at a company like Ford or Toyota, they have multiple platforms that they use to connect vehicles just to their own cloud. And it in the diversity and in the scope of all those automakers, what you lose is the ability to have a standard canonical definition of what a car is. You might say, oh, well, every car is a VIN number. A VIN number is no more the car's identity than a social security number is the person's. And if we're going to enable applications that utilize the full scope of vehicle telemetry and data processing power, if we're going to build applications that can bring true peer-to-peer car sharing, peer-to-peer vehicle sales, improve vehicle commerce, we need better ways to actually understand what a particular car is, what OEM it came from, what model it is, what trim it is. We need a way that anyone in the world can agree on what those properties of a particular vehicle are. That's where an open blockchain really comes in, and it's why we were so excited to really develop DIMO on top of Polygon and on top of an open blockchain, where we can create a vehicle standard, and we're in the beta version of that right now, a vehicle ID standard that anyone in the world can use to actually add their vehicle to DIMO network, and we can all now agree on what a particular car is. So we've developed what I believe is the first on-chain vehicle identity for a vehicle. We're still in the early days of what this looks like, and there's going to be years of development work to improve and really bring that standard to maturity. But anyone who has a connected car, so who is either vehicle through smart car, through the Tesla API, or through hardware, can actually mint their on-chain vehicle identity. And we're going to get into, I'm going to have a lot to show here, so we'll get into a few things, and Shalin, stop me if you want to jump in on a question in between.
Oh, of course. I'm really excited to show off ID. This has been one of my favorite projects that we've been working on here at DIMO.
Cool. So when you come up to the top right there, you can actually see more things about the car, and you can hit that button to actually go to the vehicle ID. Now, most of the vehicles we have here have already gone through the workflow. We've obviously done a lot of testing, so everyone will get to experience the fun of using the vehicle composer themselves. But as you go through the workflow here, you can actually choose what your car looks like. You can do some customizations. Obviously, you can see a really interesting customization here, and you can give it some background. And as we get deeper into what this looks like, we're actually going to see some data about the car that goes on chain. And I want to show a few different things here on the actual blockchain. So first off, as you go through the process of minting your car, this is this is a particular vehicle. I'm going to go to the actual contract here. This is the smart contract.
Just in case you want to show up the composer, we do have Tuna that's available, so that way we can show up.
I could do it with Tuna. Okay. This is the smart contract by which the vehicles are minted. You can actually see, I noticed this for the first time today and loved it, a mint vehicle signature here. You can see, about 80 or so, 87 transactions mints have gone through. And these are, some of the first people to be minting an on-chain vehicle identity. There's still, less than 100 people are really early to the party here. You can see this smart contract. Obviously, that we have some information about this, and anyone can go and look that up. And as you can see on OpenSea, these NFTs are displayed publicly as well. Now, to be clear, these NFTs are non-transferable. We are not allowing that to happen at this point. So you might see that at least one has been listed. Somebody's put a price on this. The transfer actually wouldn't go through. The intention is to enable things like true vehicle commerce, and that this NFT is an asset that represents ownership of the vehicle and all the data associated with it. So this isn't just some picture that's a derivative of the car that you might want to sell for 0.12 ETH. This is an NFT that's going to represent ownership of the vehicle.
I would buy a vehicle for 0.1.
You can see there's many other vehicles here. a lot of the spaces that are blocked off right now are sort of reserved for some other use cases that we have for them that are yet to be announced. We'll have to leave some mystery to that. But there's several, dozens and dozens of these, as you've seen from Polygon Scan, and you can actually click into one of these and learn a little bit about the NFTs and its properties. So if you were to look at these properties here, they tell you a little bit about the vehicle as it pertains to the DIMO network. So about 1% of the NFTs minted are Chevys. There's a small amount of Silverados. 5% of cars have been, are from the year 2022. And ultimately, this is part of building that on-chain identity for the vehicle itself.
If you wanted to show off a vehicle that has a lot of information, that dash E, if you're able to find it, has a lot of information.
Yeah, there. We did have a screenshot of it. Andy took a more serious price to the act of pricing the vehicle. Again, it's a non-transferable NFT at this point, but we do want to unlock that in the future. You can see that we're going to be including a bunch of other information about how the vehicle is connected. This is important for achieving the idea of verifying the data. Not just, it's one thing to just put the data on chain, it's another thing to achieve data verification. We can be fairly certain that the things about this vehicle are true because it has both a DIMO hardware miner and is connected to the Ford API. These are both extremely important data points that tell us, when those two things agree, when the Ford API is telling us a certain points of data, and a third-party hardware device is also telling us or confirming those points of data, we can have a much higher degree of confidence in that the metadata and the actual performance data of this vehicle that's represented is verifiable.
Now, would the information that we add on from the glove box, such as insurance, title, and registration, also incorporate?
Over time, we'll determine ways that we want to incorporate that. You're obviously not going to put an insurance card on chain. There's certain forms of like privacy protection and encryption that we're going to want to use to make sure that you can sort of verify some of that data. And more likely, we'll go down the route of, and it might depend on use case, where we can say we can verify that this car is insured. But not put specific things like policy number on chain, or even if it's not directly on chain, in a in IPFS where there's a marker on chain that can point to it.
Awesome, thanks.
We were going to show a little bit of some composers. Oh yeah,
Tuna
vehicle ID.
You could go through and you could modify your open vehicle ID. I mean, we've seen a couple of these on OpenSea and how people have made like really cool looking Cadillacs. We have some SUVs looking on there. My favorite, of course, is the one that I think kind of looks like a sports car / Porsche, just because Porsches are amazing. So that's why I decided to go with the Porsche one. But we could see here, you have lots of different varieties of what you can choose to customize your vehicle. I think there's over 10,000 total combinations. But of course, use the ones that you want because they're really cool. We have a nice F1 car, nice van over there. But yeah, you can do a lot of fun things with the composer.
And the last thing is, once you've actually minted your vehicle ID, you actually can turn on a little setting here to actually use your vehicle ID or the OpenID vehicle as your vehicle image here. And we're going to play around with incorporating some more of this aesthetic into the product later on.
If no one has been able to mint one yet, please do so. Really cool little graphic that goes and plays when you're going through the mint process. It just kind of looks like it's driving out of the tunnel. Looks really sweet. Shout out to the designer for this.
There are some important use cases. We've been talking about some of them for the open vehicle ID, but one of them that's listed here is the idea of proof of movement. This is a concept that we have talked about a lot at DIMO and continue to talk about And for many of those that have sort of followed our journey from the Helium community, Helium sort of pioneered the idea of proof of physical coverage, that, hey, we have deployed this network and we can prove that there's a certain amount of coverage in a certain geographical area by having these hotspots talk to one another. Part of what we're doing at DIMO is sort of innovating on this proof of physical location into a proof that a certain thing has moved. In most cases, for us, a car. And by having a few points of data, like the car's API, the DIMO data miner, or eventually maybe location data from a phone, you can actually start to layer in this data in a private and secure way that allows us to confirm things like a particular vehicle's trips or driving history. And when you start to imagine how that is useful in applications, it's useful in so many ways, from delivery applications to ride sharing, ride hailing, and many others. So building on this idea that we can create an open and verifiable network that proves when a vehicle went from point A to point B is something that we're going to continue to be driving towards at DIMO, and of course something that we think unlocks a really big future of mobility applications.
Reminds me a little bit about how we're taking normally siloed data bits from one company, and we're able to freely move them to other companies as well. So now, like if you have insurance from one company, instead of having to go through and verify all of that information again using whatever, we're able to now take that information and then go where we need to be. So say we have Progressive, and now we could freely move to Geico, and we don't have to start over from zero.
So that covers a lot of what was released the last time around in release 1. And I do have a sneak peek of some things to expect from the coming releases, but definitely, interested in questions.
Yeah, anybody out there on Twitter or YouTube or Discord? Looks like we got a couple of these. We got
Okay.
one coming in from Alien Art. He's just super stoked about the open vehicle ID, and he just wants
Nice.
to know if we're ever launching anything else in terms of a DIMOverse style NFT chain.
A DIMOverse style NFT chain.
So if we were doing anything more than just open vehicle ID, if we're also going to be incorporating different NFTs inside of our mobile app, if we're going to expand.
There, so I think that there's a couple of classes of NFT, and given all of the different ways that you can use the NFT, a lot of people fixate on the visual as well, the picture, and we have this cool pixel art that I think makes it more appealing and certainly makes it interesting. We have for a long time intended to use NFTs in a very sort of badge-like way. This is probably something that will roll out in later this year or maybe early next year, where people might be able to earn badges for completing certain activity. We'd love to see, as this ecosystem opens up and we open source some code and make things more accessible, we'd love to see people actually deploy their own NFTs if they think that that's a useful thing for users. So you might, if you were a car company, you might say, hey, if we see people complete this really scenic drive or this really adventurous drive through a wilderness, you can earn an NFT badge on DIMO for having completed that drive. Like, we really want people to think outside the box and be really creative in the way that we use the idea of a on-chain record, an on-chain validation that something's happened in the real world. And we'd love to see sort of the market open up and more interesting applications built around that. So we'll probably experiment with some badges and NFTs as badges. People love commemorative NFTs, and we're going to be finally pushing some out that for people who have ordered our hardware. But we'd love to see other creative applications built on top of DIMO that leverage this core technology.
Here's your question, Alien Art. We have one more question from Steve is IT, and he wants to ask us, how will we incentivize users to basically use our platform to data and the metadata to our to the network over the traditional sense of, like, say, the DMV?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, One is, we believe that through aggregating this data, or allowing users really to aggregate their own data, we can unlock better applications and services. So we believe that throughout the process of collecting your own performance data and then layering in the metadata, when you go to sell your car and bring it to a vehicle marketplace, and we're doing this not just out of our own belief, but through conversations that we've had with many online marketplaces, dealerships, and people in the vehicle commerce industry. Um, we believe that it's going to unlock, for most users, a better experience, and that better experience could mean getting a better price, allowing things to move more quickly, opening up the options that you have for either refinancing or buying a new car, or even buying out the lease from your car. We believe that the incentive will emerge through creating the apps and services that give people a better experience.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve IT, for that question. We have one in the last minute from Helium Lee. He asks, currently, the miners use GSM data. When will the Helium network be used to offload car data? And does that migration require a new generation of miners?
It will require a new generation of miners. Um, we have had requests. So initially, when we have, and still talk with the Helium team, and we've spoken with other decentralized wireless teams too, Pollen, we have been very focused on 5G, as 5G allows us, just in terms of bandwidth, allows us to do more robust data backhaul. We can send video and do other things. To accomplish 5G, those networks need to be built out, and still, the 5G network is in its infancy, whether you're looking at Helium or Pollen. And when we look at, recently, we've had some interest actually in the LoRaWAN network, and we are looking and exploring ways. It's going to be some time before we can, send a new hardware device that can offload some error codes or other things like that over the Helium LoRaWAN networks. But there's been some interest in that. Now, the limitation with LoRaWAN is that there's less data. The one caveat to all this is that we are exploring accessories to the DIMO AutoPi device. It comes with a USB port, and we're investigating exactly how we might be able to use an external Helium capable device that you can plug into your AutoPi that gives you the capability to offload data via, say, 5G or maybe even LoRa. Still looking at that. Obviously, that's another device that you're plugging into the AutoPi, which for many people isn't a big deal, but having a nice clean package is probably it's certainly a V2 thing, and it's probably a next year thing.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that question too, Helium Lee. I think with that, that's all the questions that we currently have. So with this, I'd like to thank you so much, Alex, for coming out to talk today about the release.
I have at least just a sneak peek of some of the things that people can look forward to for future releases. Not going to show anything everything real visual, but there's a ton of polish that goes into the app every time we release one of these things. So one of the important things, every time we do one of these big releases, so one of the important things we do is actually go back over the app. We have an amazing community of people that have actually come together that are a part of quality assurance and QAing the app. They've also given us a ton of suggestions of ways to improve it. So you're going to continue to see the features that you see today improve. We also are really excited. Many people probably have noticed that the map feature still shows one car at a time. We're going to be actually releasing an ability to see all your cars on the map at the exact same time, as well as develop some fleet insights so that you actually can see, maybe comparisons across vehicles, and really, if you have more than one car, if you're a small business owner that's connecting a fleet, you have the ability to learn a little bit more about your fleets in aggregate. We're also working on a whole bunch of really exciting features, which I can't even talk about, but expect basically every month to see a slew of new and exciting things coming out of the DIMO mobile app engineering team.
Thank you for that sneak peek. Do you have
No
anything
problem.
else to mention at all?
Not right now. We're really excited about everything that we're building. Excited about the community engagement, and in the next few months, there's going to be a lot of big milestones.
Amazing. I'm going to say it once again, thank you so much for coming out today, Alex. Thank you for being here with me to talk about the most recent DIMO release, about the current state of DIMO, and then somewhat of the future look of how work in the mobile app is going to play.
No problem. Yeah, Shallon, as always, thanks for hosting.
I gotcha. And with that, everybody, thank you so much for coming out. Catch us tomorrow for our Watch Us Work segment at 2:30. It's going to be hosted by Aaron and Ben. There are two designers that we have here. And one of the designers, they're going to be going over the UI improvements and some bug fixes tomorrow. So you can definitely watch how we do things live. Once again, that's 2:30, and you'll be able to watch us either on YouTube on this channel or on Twitter. Thank you guys so much. And as always, just thank you for being a fantastic community. We'll catch you later.